We're at the IAS 2018, and we're here with Gastón with the Argentina Youth Network. And we were over at the youth section of the center, the Global Village, which houses a lot of good activists, young people. It's always good to see the young people being active because that's where we really need to focus right now. And Gastón, tell us about your organization, what it does.
Well, like first, it's like really surprising and like comforting to see how there's so much like youth activity going on in this conference in particular, but our organization particularly works with young people and adolescents living with HIV all along the Argentinian territory. We have the only condition that we have is that they have to be like from 14 years old to 30, because that's how actually the network came, how it was born. Because like especially like mother-to-child transmission adolescents and girls were already assisting the adults peer support groups, and they didn't feel quite like they fit in there, so they decided to come up with their own organization, their own spaces, where they didn't have to go through these authority issues between them and the adults. So they found somewhere where they could feel like, well, they could identify with other peers that they were going through the same things as them in that quest of just finding out who you are and growing, but just for the fact that you are dealing also with HIV at such an early age. And it's
a lot of baggage.
It's a lot of baggage, and like mostly adults think that since they were young, at some point they can like give some output that it's necessarily like profitable for us. But the thing is that even though everyone's been young at some point, like it's not the same youth that you perhaps as your generation went through at the time, and the one that we are going through right now, especially since there's been so many like social and technological changes along the years. So I think that relationship between ourselves and that moment in space and time is what makes at least this HIV response so special. Especially since it translates in so many other aspects.
So is your organization virtual or is it physical? Do you have a location or locations?
Sure. We do have several locations because it's a national platform, and we have a presence in every single one of our 24 districts, but we also try to appeal to like people who don't necessarily live in like big cities like Buenos Aires, Rosario, or Córdoba, which are our biggest cities. But in order for everyone to have access to the peer support system, we have a virtual platform using social media, so that regardless of where you live, regardless of your like disponibility, because perhaps like you have a support group at 6, and even you go to classes or you have to work, and perhaps not everyone can access like in-person like events, so that the accessibility like can be inside your reach. So
are these are there events or
Yes.
educational events or social
specifically
events?
in Buenos Aires, I am the peer coordinator because I'm also a psychologist, and we have weekly like peer groups and events with either doctors that come and tell us like answer questions in a friendly environment, whereas like perhaps in their own like consult, young people wouldn't like dare to ask some questions, given like the relationship that they have with their actual physician. So we have like a weekly events, but that may not be the case for people in other like provinces, since we are like one of the few like districts in the country that has like its own physical space, because since our organization is pretty much volunteer based and we don't like juggle with much funding, perhaps many groups just get together at some person's like house or a public space, but little by little we're starting to like gain access to like physical platforms where where everyone can have the same rights to have in-person like meetings, and that support is not just like a cold thing in the computer.
So it's a support group. Is it emotional support or is it like or social support? Because I know some of the groups that I've been involved with that were medical support groups about new infusions or something like that, were started to go in the direction of social and then also emotional. And you need someone like yourself, professional, who could assist with organizing that kind of response so that it goes in the right direction. It's kind of like a support, guided support, if you will. But how do yours work? Are they different? Are there different types of support?
There are definitely different types of support. I think that the one that would like characterize our organization the best would be like specifically peer support, just because of the fact that it's an organization made by and for people living with HIV, and since there are actually few like professionals like myself, and even though I am a professional, I always like tend to always support people there as a peer and not like a professional that is at another level. Even though we actually, since we conceive like HIV not only as a clinical condition but as a social pandemic, and we ourselves, I mean, the virus can live on its own, so since it lives inside us and we are like beings that have so many spheres, that it's not only clinical but also, like you said, emotionally, psychologically, socially, like we have to give like a much wider response. But we also try to work as a network so that not every single one of the 1,000 members that we have to come just to me, but also to other people, and also with the other organizations that we work with, because since our main motto is that you're not alone, like we are also not alone in the HIV response in Argentina, so we try to insert ourselves in the healthcare system, because since we also believe that the only legal and formal like institutional response that you have in terms of healthcare is just like clinical. So we try to access that way, like in primary care, and use the derivations that are necessary, so that you, even though if you have like only public healthcare and you need to assist like a mental health professional, we try to connect with the mental health institutions so that they can have like an accessible or free services.
Many ways in which this can take shape, but it is peer-led.
Sure.
And now you were mentioning, is it membership? You have to join as a member, or?
Yes, you have to join, but it's quite a symbolic membership. I mean, like the only thing that you need to do, like we only ask like one big favor in return. The membership is that since we use mostly Facebook, is that you have to use like your actual real name and identity, because there are many like online support groups which just function as an anonymous base, which is great because not many people are willing to disclose.
Something for everybody, you know.
Right,
yeah.
And like that's the only sacrifice that we ask for our members, which is a great one, and many people aren't perhaps not like really willing to do so.
And there are other options. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like you're doing a good job, and it's really great that you're here to kind of give yet another picture of how we might work, especially bringing the youth to the table, and also and also prevention messages are important too. So hopefully y'all can work on that as well.
Sure. Like our main focus when it comes to prevention is always treatment as prevention, because since we you do the U equals U philosophy and so forth. Yeah. Of course, because since we solely focus on people actually living with HIV and that are already like beyond the point of like transmission, but that's still there's a lot of things that can be done in regards of prevention, even though we focus on the quality of life of the people that are actually positive. So,
well, thank you so much, Gastón. I appreciate you being here.
Thank you for the opportunity.
No problem.